Welcome, brave souls, to another episode that promises to blur the lines between the natural and the inexplicable. Tonight we delve into three tales that defy logic and challenge our understanding of the world around us. Imagine a winter fair turned into a deadly ice storm, a sleepy town where the sky rains mysterious goo, or a historic port town engulfed by a fire tornado. Two of these stories are figments of the imagination, carefully crafted to send shivers down your spine. But one, just one, is a true enigma that has puzzled experts and terrified locals. Are you prepared to sift through the layers of the unbelievable to find the kernel of truth? If so, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and let's embark on this journey through the uncanny and the unexplained. Now let's begin. Story 1, The Glass Storm. The town of Bayshore had always taken pride in its annual winter fair, a beloved tradition that marked the beginning of the holiday season. The fairgrounds were a spectacle to behold, adorned with twinkling lights, festive decorations, and an array of vendor stalls offering everything from hot cider to hand-knit scarves. Families, couples, and children roamed the grounds, their faces flushed with excitement and the chilly air. Laughter and chatter filled the atmosphere, mingling with the scent of cinnamon, pine, and roasting chestnuts. The sky was a dull gray, but that was hardly a concern. Snow was in the forecast, and everyone was eagerly awaiting the first magical flurries of the season. Local meteorologists had predicted a winter storm, but the residents of Bayshore were undeterred. In fact, many were excited at the prospect of a white fairground, imagining how beautiful the twinkling lights would look against a backdrop of fresh snow. Children fantasized about snowball fights between the rides, and vendors prepared hot chocolate and warm treats in anticipation of the cold front. Just as the clock tower chimed 5 p.m., the atmosphere changed. The temperature dropped several degrees in a matter of seconds, and a biting wind swept through the fairgrounds with a howl that drowned out the sounds of laughter and music. Vendor stalls wobbled and collapsed. Decorations were ripped from their moorings and sent flying through the air. People looked up, their faces turning from confusion to horror. Instead of the soft, gentle snowflakes they had expected, the sky spat out sharp, glass-like shards of ice. They glittered menacingly as they descended, and when they hit the ground, they shattered upon impact, turning the fairgrounds into a deadly minefield. Screams erupted from the crowd as people realized the danger. Parents scooped up their children and ran, couples clung to each other in terror, and even the vendors abandoned their stalls in a desperate bid for safety. The shards of ice sliced through tent fabric as if it were paper, shattered game booths, and embedded themselves in wooden tables and chairs. When the storm finally subsided, the fairgrounds looked like a war zone. The ground was littered with shards of ice and debris from the destroyed stalls and decorations. Emergency services were overwhelmed, tending to people with cuts and bruises, some even more severely injured. The town was in shock, unable to comprehend the bizarre and terrifying event they had just experienced. Weeks passed, and the town of Bayshore slowly began to rebuild. The winter fair was a distant memory, but the scars it left were indelible. The shattered tents were replaced, the damaged rides repaired, but the people, those who had witnessed the glass storm, were forever changed. As the years went by, the glass storm became the stuff of local legend, a cautionary tale told to children who dared to complain about a regular snowfall. But for the adults, especially those who were there that day, the story served as a haunting reminder of the town's brush with the inexplicable. Story 2, It's Raining Goo. Picture this. It's August 1994 in Oakville, Washington, a small, unassuming town where everyone knows each other's names. The sky is overcast and the air is thick with the promise of rain. But when the heavens finally open, what falls from the sky is far from ordinary. It's not raindrops that splatter against windows and rooftops. It's gelatinous, translucent blobs, each about the size of a grain of rice. They coat the ground, the leaves on the trees, and even the cars parked outside. Residents are puzzled, some venturing outside to touch these mysterious blobs. They're unlike anything anyone has seen, jelly-like, almost squishy to the touch, but with a sinister, otherworldly vibe. And then things take a darker turn. People who've come into contact with these blobs start to feel ill. We're talking nausea, difficulty breathing, and a fatigue so crippling it's as if their energy has been sucked out of them. Among those affected is a local resident named Dottie Hearn. She becomes so ill after handling the blobs that she's hospitalized. Doctors are puzzled by her symptoms, which include extreme fatigue and difficulty breathing. Despite multiple tests, they can't determine what's causing her illness. Local authorities are as baffled as the residents. Samples are collected and sent to various labs for analysis. The initial findings are as perplexing as the blobs themselves. They contain human white blood cells. Yes, you heard that right, human white blood cells, but no one can explain what these blobs are or why they fell from the sky on that fateful day. Theories start to circulate. Some suggest that this is the result of military experiments, possibly a form of biological warfare testing gone awry. Others think it might be waste material from an airplane, although this theory is largely debunked. Environmental explanations like unusual algae or jellyfish remains are also considered but don't quite fit the bill. Despite investigations by the Washington State Department of Ecology and even the Federal Aviation Administration, the mystery remains unsolved. The blobs themselves have disintegrated or been lost over time, making further analysis impossible. Local news stations pick up the story, and soon the Oakville blobs become a national mystery. Scientists and researchers from around the country offer to analyze the blobs, but their findings only add more questions than answers. Some tests reveal the presence of bacteria commonly found in the human digestive system, further deepening the enigma. To this day, the Oakville blobs incident remains one of the most puzzling and unsettling events in the topic of unexplained phenomena. It's a story that challenges our understanding of the natural world, leaving us with more questions than answers. Were these blobs a freak act of nature, a military experiment, or something far more sinister? We may never know, but one thing is certain. For the residents of Oakville, that summer day in 1994 turned their quiet, small-town life into a chapter of a science fiction novel, and the echoes of that mystery still linger. Story 3, Infernal Cyclone. In the sweltering summer of 1772, the southern port town of Blackstone Bay found itself in the grip of a relentless heat wave. The air was thick with humidity, and the forest that bordered the town was a tinderbox waiting to ignite. When a wildfire eventually broke out, it spread like a fever, consuming everything in its path. For days, firefighters and volunteers battled the blaze, their faces soot-streaked and their spirits waning. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost, a storm rolled in from the sea. The townspeople looked to the heavens in relief, believing that the much-needed rain would quench the flames and save their homes. But nature had other plans. As the rain began to fall, the winds picked up, swirling in an unnatural pattern. Within minutes, a tornado touched down near the edge of the wildfire. But this was no ordinary tornado. It had touched down right on the edge of the wildfire. It became a vortex of fire and fury, a swirling column of flame and smoke that roared to life with terrifying intensity. The infernal cyclone hurled burning debris into the air, scattering embers that ignited new fires wherever they landed. Houses, barns, and fields were consumed in an instant, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. People fled in terror, abandoning their homes and possessions in a desperate bid for safety. The town's church became a makeshift refuge, its stone walls offering some protection against the fiery onslaught. As the congregation huddled inside, praying for deliverance, the fire tornado raged outside, its roar a deafening symphony of destruction. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the fire tornado dissipated, vanishing into the sky. In the aftermath of the infernal cyclone, Blackstone Bay was a town in ruins. The damage was catastrophic. Much of the community had been reduced to ashes, and many lives were lost. The church, one of the few structures to survive, became a focal point for the grieving town, a place to mourn and to seek solace. The event was recorded in the town's annals, carefully transcribed by the few literate members of the community. It was described in vivid detail, from the initial outbreak of the wildfire to the terrifying appearance of the fire tornado. Despite the limitations of scientific understanding at the time, the account was remarkably accurate, capturing the sequence of natural events that led to the disaster. In the years that followed, Blackstone Bay slowly rebuilt. New houses were constructed, fields were replanted, and life began to return to some semblance of normality. But the memory of that fateful summer in 1772 remained indelibly etched in the collective consciousness of the town. Thank you for staying with us on this whirlwind tour through the inexplicable and the downright eerie. You've heard three tales that stretch the boundaries of belief. A winter fair turned into an icy nightmare, a town where the sky rained mysterious blobs, and a historic port consumed by a fire tornado. Now, the moment of truth, which of these stories is not a figment of the imagination but a real-life enigma? The tale that defies all conventional wisdom is, it's Raining Goo, the story of Oakville, Washington. Yes, you heard it right. The unsettling episode where gelatinous blobs rained from the sky and left residents ill is based on actual events. This bizarre incident has puzzled scientists, investigators, and the general public alike, reminding us that sometimes the most unsettling stories are the ones that are genuinely real. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the unknown. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button and share it with fellow mystery seekers. And remember, in every trio of tales at 2 tricks, 1 treat, 2 will deceive, but 1 always speaks the truth. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and always stay curious.